Don't place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. I can't believe I've just left over 100% return extra on my investment. Hey traders, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video here, but it's not all bad news. And the reason why I'm doing this video for you today is because I want to share a mentality that I think a lot of traders have a hard time dealing with when it comes to these markets. I was speaking to one of my private clients just recently, and he got into a trade. We actually both got into the same trade. Mike, if you watch this, man, I apologize. He got into the trade, and a couple of days later, it moved a little bit, but he made a 50% return on his trade, right? 2 days later, and the market hardly moved. It didn't really move that much, this particular trade, right? So he ended up getting out, and he ended up taking the profit. I took the exact same trade. I'm still in that right now, and I'm not going to talk about where it is right now because it's incredible profit where it is right now. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. What Mike did is that he got out, okay? He got out. And the very next day, it continued to run on for really, really, really good profit, okay? So he got out at 50%, and the next day, I'm still in, and I ran off good profit. And he's, oh my goodness, I can't believe I took the profit too early, all this sort of stuff, right? And he started to really get cranky at himself, and enough is enough, and all this sort of stuff. And what was happening with him was, I said to Mike, I said, hang on a minute, Mike, you got to stop for a minute, okay? You got to look at what you're doing. See, when you enter a trade, you've got to have a plan on how you're going to maximize that trade. Doesn't matter what happens afterwards, okay? It doesn't matter what happens afterwards. And I said to Mike, you made a 50% return in 2 days trading the market less than an hour per day, and the market hardly did anything. Be grateful for that. That's the first thing. Secondly, is that if you can manage it a bit, if you can manage the trade a bit better next time, what can you do better next time? But you say what? Be grateful that you just made 50%. Don't say, oh my goodness, I could have made 80% or I could have made 100% or where it is right now. I'm not going to go there, right? But I can't believe I just left all this money on the table. It's such a mentality thing, right? And I said to him, Mike, stop, right? Stop. You just made a profit. You made a good profit, right? 50% return in 2 days on the option. And so anyway, so I was talking to him about that, and it's something that people have a hard time dealing with. And so whenever you're in a trade, okay, just like I'm going to talk about my SLV trade here. I got into SLV trade just recently, and I didn't know how far this was going to run on, so I was going to be really aggressive with me getting out or moving up my stop with this particular trade. I was going to be really aggressive. And so what ended up happening was, so I did the exact same thing, right? So this is the SLV trade. Now, this is the trade here. So I end up getting into, the trade was simply right here, okay? So this SLV trade right here, all right? So I got into here, this little update here, and had nice increase in volume. I won't get into the setup here, right? But it had nice little update there, okay? So that's where I entered. But I also was looking at my weekly chart. I said, okay, this has been going on for quite some time. We're getting into an area of resistance. It may or may not continue through. So I'm going to let the market do what it's going to do, but I'm going to be aggressive with my stop, right? Always, I would prefer you to be too aggressive with your stop and then not aggressive with your stop. Yes, you got to leave some profit on the table every now and then, but it's all about protecting your account, right? Protecting your account is number one. That's aggressive stop movement, or stop movement, and then also risk management. Right, so I was in this day here, I stayed in, this day here, I stayed in, this day here, I stayed in, and then I actually moved my stop to the low of this bar here. Right, so I was really aggressive with the lows here. And so maybe I was a bit too aggressive, but I don't know. But my plan was to do that. Now here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. If I if I bring up my options, okay, I was in there, right? Here we go here, right? The $16 option here, right? So the $16 option here, and if I bring up my option chain for that day, let me see if I can do this here. So if that day there, as you can see, it was that day right there. All right, so let me just delete that off the screen. Let me take all that off the screen there. So as you can see, right, the option was at basically 67 cents, somewhere around about there. That's where the option was, okay? And the option ran up to as high as about 110%. Okay, and then it dropped back down, and I got out around about, I actually had I got out around about a 70% there. Right, so a 70% Here's the thing, a 70%. Now today, where is it at today? 185%. I cannot believe I just left over an extra 100%. Now, when you start to trade big numbers, guys, that's actually quite a fair amount. But you can't look at it like that, right? I am not phased whatsoever about this extra move that's happening in this trade, because it's not about, remember traders, when you're trading the markets, it's all about just consistently trading the markets, consistently generating those profits. That's how you make money, right? Most traders are trying to get the exact bottom, the exact high, that they stay into trade, they get too greedy and all this sort of stuff, right? I knew the type of trade I was getting into. It was what I call a short-term trade. It wasn't a long-term trade where I was going to use, in fact, you know what? I'm just going to talk about this here right now. Let me bring up, I'm going to bring up the candlesticks here, okay? And I'm going to bring up a trade that I'm in right now. Right, so this is the trade that I'm in right now as I speak, right? I got in on this breakout bar. This is CRE, and I've been in this for ever since on this breakout bar here, okay? Now, when I'm on this breakout bar, I use something called like a moving average. This is because it's the type of trade that I'm in, so I use a moving average as an exit. Right, so as you can see, right, I'm still in this trade right now. Now, guys, don't get into this trade right now. The entry was way back up here, right? And plus you got to understand the reason why I got into this trade. So I'm in this trade as I speak right now. But moving back over to SLV, this is what we call a long-term trade. For me, it's a long-term trade is that I know this has a lot of fuel behind it to go for a nice decent run, or has the potential to that anyway. No one really knows. So I'm going to use a moving average to keep me in, but to maximize my profit. Whereas something like the SLV trade that I took, okay, the SLV trade that I took, right here, as you can see, right, this one here, it wasn't a long-term trade. So let me just delete this off the screen here. Okay, it wasn't this trade here wasn't a long-term trade. Let me bring this up here. All right, it was more like what I call a short-term trade. So therefore, on a shorter-term trade, I'm going to be very, very aggressive with my stop here. So, you know, I'm grateful that I made 70% return. And guys, when you start to trade significant amounts of money, you know, a good amount of money per trade, 10 grand, 20 grand per trade, you know, a $10,000 trade would have generated, you know, a $7,000 return, you know, in 3 days. You know, a $20,000 position, you know, when you start to do that and you start to get confident on putting those positions on, a $20,000 position is a $14,000 profit. So what I'm trying to share with you here is it's you got to not focus on, oh my goodness, I missed out on this. I'm just saying, you know what? Thank you so much for this beautiful short-term trade. I was only in it for a couple of days, 1, 2, 3, 4 days. And on the 4th day, I got out. No, and I don't really care about what happened today. I'm just saying, you know what? Thank you. I generated a really nice profit. When most people are getting slaughtered in the market today, I generated a really nice profit today. See how that's a mentality, right? You get in with when you get in with a plan, and you got to maximize that plan. And you got to maximize that plan, and then you just got to do your best you can to maximize that. And you got to understand how you're going to use your exit strategy. Okay. For me, my exit strategy was simply just using the low of the bar for this particular trade. So this low of the bar was my exit here, and then low of the bar, got tagged out, and then the market continued up. Okay, so that was my exit strategy. But again, guys, you can never pick the exact high or the exact low in the market. So if you ever get into a trade and you do make a nice profit, but that was your exit strategy in the first place of how you maximize that, then just say, you know what, thank you so much for that beautiful profit, you know, and, you know, like, again, guys, $20,000 position would generate a $14,000 or $14,000 profit here. And guess what? Trading less than half an hour per day to do that. See what I'm saying there, guys? It's like, you know, when you can start to trade a much more larger positions instead of just $1 or $2 or $3 or $4,000, a much more 10, 20, 30 grand. You don't need too many good trades throughout the entire year, right? For you to start to go like, wow, you know, I've just generated full-time income throughout the year for this. Now, guys, what I am saying is that there was a plan behind this, right? There was a plan behind this on this particular trade. It wasn't just getting in anything and throwing money in anything. No, okay? So the whole purpose of me seeing this story is that, yes, I left over 100% return extra on my trade, but that wasn't my plan. And you cannot let that get to you, okay? You should be focusing on generating consistent profits Not every single trade. Sometimes they're going to have losses, but as long as overall, if you have 5 trades, 2 losses, 3 wins, but those 3 wins are helping you with that, that's what it's all about. But don't ever, that emotion that comes up when you're like, oh my goodness, I should have stayed in. Oh, look at all that profit I've just missed out on. Da, 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 da. It's like, don't do that to yourself, okay? Stay calm, stay emotionally calm. And from that process of you staying emotionally calm, you make better decisions, and it's not about one trade, okay? It's about the collective of trades, about how you manage the trades and taking consistent profits out of the markets. Do not beat yourself up over lost profit and all that sort of stuff. And this is where, you trying to be right and wrong with the markets. You never know how far something's going to run, or how high or how low something's going to go. So trying to pick the exact high, if you're in a bullish trade, trying to pick the exact high is very, very, very dangerous, okay? Because you just never know no one knows where the exact high is. No one knows how high it's going to go, okay? And vice versa, right? If you could stay in and then suddenly you stay in too late and then bam. So it's having that balance and also understanding what type of trade. I understand the setups. What I have, as I before, I have a short-term trade where I'm only going to be in it between 2 and 5 days. That's my plan to be in that trade. That's exactly how I managed that trade, exactly how I did it. Guess what? Thank you, mate. Thank you, man. Wham, bam. Thank you, man. Really good profit. Next trade. Actually, I'm still in that Cree trade right now. Okay? Wham, bam. Thank you, man. So moving on to the next trade, right? But when I do get into a trade that's more of a longer term trade, I understand that even before I enter the trade, I understand what I'm going to use to get out of this trade. I understand how I'm going to manage that trade properly so I can maximize that trade. This trade here was a short-term trade, so I'm only in it for 2 to 5 days. That's my rules. That's my plan. My plan is this is what I'm getting into, and then this type of trade is a short-term trade, so my exit is 2 to 5 days. And then something like a Cree trade, which I'm still in right now. There we go. All right, so which I'm still in right now. So I got in on this breakout bar. The breakout bar here, if I do this here, if I zoom this on here, right, the breakout bar, I got in this one here. Guess what? My plan is more of a this is what I call a long-term play. So I've got to give it a bit more time. So I'm going to use the 9 as my exit point. But then also what I'm going to do is I'm also going to manage it. So right now, my stop right now on this particular trade is actually quite tight. It's actually right just above here. So that's where my stop is, right just above there. So I've already locked in this profit, so I can't make a loss at all. And I'm just managing this as it's going, not being fearful and just letting the markets, because that is the worst thing that a trader can do when they're in a trade. They think they know where it's going to find support and it's going to bounce, or where it's going to find resistance and it's going to reverse. Like, we never know, right? And there's been so many times I've been in a trade, trading the Forex and the futures market, 2-minute, 5-minute charts, and I've gotten into a trade and it's came down to a support level, and guess what? I might have gotten to a bearish trade and bam, 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 it came down to a support level and held it for a little bit, and then guess what? Then continue and then continue down. You never know, right? So manage the trades the same way, and I promise you, and I always say this to my private clients, with these longer term plays, and my private clients, if you're watching this, my longer term plays, you would know that by using something like a 9 moving average, overall, if you took 10 long-term plays, is going to far outweigh you generating a significant return on your investment on those profitable trades than you were just doing that. And again, you never, ever, ever know where that bottom is and so on and so forth. So try to keep that emotion out, guys, and don't get so cranky about what you left on the table. If you generate a nice profit on a trade and you traded well, remember, it's not about one trade. I got into a trade based on my plan, and I got out based on a plan. I made a nice profit. Thank you very much. Let's go do that again and 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 again for the rest of my life. Therefore, I can feed my kids. Hey traders, before you go, make sure you head on down to johnsfreegift.com, because I'm giving away a brand new trading course. It's 10 videos long, over 12 hours long. We've got the foundations, we've got chart reading strategies, we've got a couple of different trading systems there, the mindset, the differences between people who do really well and people who don't do well, and so much more. If you're struggling with the trading right now, then you need to get access to this trading course. So go to johnsfreegift.com right now to get free access to this complete trading course right now.